Hi, my name is Matt. This is my first YouTube video. I hope you enjoy.
Hi everyone, my name is Matt, and I'm here to talk about my mouthpiece. This is my mouthpiece, a Bach 3C. I've used this particular mouthpiece since my junior year of high school up until now. If you look at the shank, you can see that it is somewhat worn. There's a faint outline of insertion marks, and even two noticeable gouges where a mouthpiece puller was used. It's my all reliable piece though. No matter how many pieces I experiment with, I always seem to come back to this particular piece. The Bach 3C is one of the most popular mouthpieces to play on in the world. It, along with the Bach 7C, Bach 5C, and Bach 1.5C series of mouthpieces, make up a large majority of the mouthpieces played by trumpet players all over, from the high school player to the college student to the professional musician. Before I go any further, this video is a submission towards the Harrelson Trumpets Week 10 challenge, and towards the end of this video, I will be discussing the 5mm modular mouthpiece. Now admittedly, I hadn't looked too deeply into what Mr. Harrelson's company offered before the production of this video, but after further digging around, I found his work to be intriguing. But I'll save those thoughts for later. There are tens, if not hundreds, of different mouthpieces in the world. From this, how did the Bach series of mouthpieces become the industry standard for musicians around the world? What other options are out there? What is the ideal mouthpiece? Well, to find out, let's dive into the history and development of the Bach mouthpiece. Now, in this video, I'd like to go over three main topics. 1. A quick overview of the history of the Vincent Bach Corporation and the Bach mouthpiece. 2. My own experiences with mouthpieces and how I came to be playing a 3C. And lastly, 3. What other options are out there, and why would I consider a Harrelson 5mm mouthpiece? With that out of the way, let's talk about the history of the Vincent Bach Corporation. The Vincent Bach Corporation's history can be divided into three main periods of production: the New York period, the Mount Vernon period, and lastly, the Elkhart period. The New York period spanned from 1918 to 1953. This was the time when Vincent Bach first initially began experimenting with mouthpiece and trumpet design in New York City, and it was in the same period when Bach developed the infamous Stradivarius line of trumpets and cornets. The second period occurred between 1953 and 1964, when Vincent Bach moved his company from New York City to Mount Vernon, New York. Instruments made during this period are often considered the cream of the crop, prized for being hand-assembled instruments and highly sought after by both musician and collector. The third period is the Elkhart period, which spans from 1965 to this present day. This was when the Vincent Bach Corporation was acquired by the Selmer Company, with Bach staying on as a consultant. The company moved from Mount Vernon, New York to Elkhart, Indiana, relocating to a former Kahn factory that is owned by the Selmer Company. The Stradivarius line of instruments continues to be produced in Elkhart, Indiana, to this day. I think it can be said that the success of Vincent Bach's company is the largest contributor to why so many trumpet players around the world play a Bach mouthpiece. There are 80 different variations of Bach mouthpieces that are produced that I've counted in the Bach catalog alone. This may seem like an intimidating number of models, but the label system that Bach employs keeps it relatively simple, especially in comparison to something like the Schilke or Yamaha label system. I believe it was this system of labeling that made it more accessible for musicians to understand, hence why Bach mouthpieces are so popular and why the system is used by so many other mouthpiece makers. This labeling system can be broken down into two main categories: letters for general cup size and back bore, and the numbers for general rim size model. Now, I say general because in my own experiences with mouthpieces, I found that you can't always rely on a letter number system to predetermine how a mouthpiece will feel and play. Different combinations of cup and rim sizes causes a variation in factors, such as how the rim of the mouthpiece feels, often referred to as the bite of the piece. I haven't even mentioned all the different weights, throats, and backbores that a mouthpiece can have. That being said, I'll tell you my experience with my Mouthpiece Safari. that I experienced during high school and how I came back to a Bach 3C. A short disclaimer before I tell you my own experiences with mouthpieces. Everyone is different, and everyone will have their own opinion on what a good mouthpiece is. Equipment can be a very touchy topic, and some people can be very passionate about their opinion. I don't claim to be an expert on mouthpieces, I'm just telling my own subjective experience that I've had on my journey as a musician. You do you, plain and simple. In high school, I always enjoyed experimenting with different mouthpieces and how they affected my sound, but it made me fall into the trap of prioritizing equipment over getting myself in the practice room. I don't own hundreds of pieces, but for a student back in high school, I think I may have owned 10 too many. And after every mouthpiece change, I always come back to the 3C mouthpiece. It's comfortable on my face and is versatile just for about any kind of gig I have. It's relatively easy to blend in with an ensemble, but also allows me to play solo well too. I don't need to change mouthpieces between jazz and classical because it's a good piece that allows me to alter my sound from bright to dark. I'm not a high note player by any means, but if I had to play lead, I'm 100% confident it would get the job done. I'm currently a college student right now, and at this time in my life, it's all I need. And that's why I have a mouthpiece case that only holds one mouthpiece. That being said, what would my options be if I ever wanted to change mouthpieces? I like to call these specialized pieces, as they are marketed towards working musicians looking for a more specialized sound. These pieces are noticeably more expensive than your typical mouthpiece, often $100 or more. Some brands that I can name off the top of my head are Bob Reeves, Wedge, Warburton, Pickett, Austin Custom Brass, GR, Marcinkiewicz, and Monet. A big topic that comes up with equipment, though, is the subject of price point. You could easily spend $500 on several mouthpieces specialized for different playing situations, and this doesn't even include the time it takes to try out mouthpieces. Due to the nature of the mouthpiece market, there is no standardized measurement of mouthpiece size. A Bach 3C will be a different shape than a Jupiter 3C, or a Curry 3C, or a Dennis Wick 3C, thus making the search for the perfect mouthpiece for you even more difficult. Which brings me to the topic of Harrelson Trumpets. I haven't really looked into the custom horn market much because I'm pretty content with the equipment I have currently, but I've become very intrigued by Mr. Harrelson's refreshing approach to horn and mouthpiece manufacturing. What Mr. Harrelson has brought to the market is a way to have a piece that's modular, where you can easily exchange rims, cups, bores, and so many other things that are outside of my knowledge. The price point is still quite expensive, but having the ability to switch out parts so that you can adapt to any playing situation makes the investment far more economical than purchasing multiple pieces. That and the ability to have a trial run and the ability to test one piece out that's modular is by far more attractive than the trial and error of ordering several mouthpieces online at a time. I think it's a step in the right direction, and if I were to experiment with specialized mouthpieces, I think I would probably look into what Mr. Harrelson offers. So in conclusion, there are several points I'd like to leave you all with. On the topic of mouthpieces, always research what you're getting yourself into. There are multiple forums and reviews that you can read online so that you can get an idea of what kind of piece it is. If you have the ability, try the piece out first before you buy. Many music stores offer a selection and will be more than willing to help you find a fit that's best for you. A mouthpiece won't make you play a double C or even make you a better player. The time that you invest in practice and performance are by far more important than any equipment you have. And most importantly, find a good teacher that can help you with your goals as a musician. If you're looking to improve as a musician, a good teacher will help guide you and set you on a path towards whatever goal you set in motion.